Hello, sziasztok! Ez itt egy újabb stream. What Remains of Edith Finch? Az a címe a játéknak. Ezt is Trapvine Petinek köszönhetjük. Ezt a gémet. Mármint úgy értve, hogy az unokácsém mondta azt, hogy talán ezzel játszhatok. Én hallgattam most rá. Mi a... Ez már a game? Ez már a game? És ott a felirat. Azt a... Kicsit jó a grafika. Jó van. Na, amúgy... annyit akartam mondani, hogy hello, sziasztok! Ismét. Közben azért elküldöm pár embernek, hogy livézek. Hello, hello! Hello, egyenzabot! Ezzel fogunk játszani. Be van kötve a kezünk? El is volt törve? Miért? Miért van el? Miért volt eltörve a kezünk? Mit csináltunk mi? Bocs. Ha megütöm, akkor azt halljátok. Gyakran nyúlok az arcomhoz, mert viszketek, meg igazítok, meg a szemüvegemet rosszul nyomja le a fülhallgató, de attól függetlenül jobb, mint az előző. Hát jó, akkor több embernek már nem tudjuk nagyon elküldeni. Több ismerős nincs, aki esetleg láthatná. Vagy megnézne, vagy valami. Bár az lenne a legjobb, ha minél több nézőm lenne. Minél többen kommentelnétek. És akkor talán én is kaphatnék ezért Dellát. De az még tovább van. Na. Én is lapozok.
And I'm sorry about that. I'm just gonna start at the beginning with the house.
Peti, ugye ez nem egy horror? Jaj, de jó! Lehet benne futni? Zoomolni lehet.
But I wasn't allowed inside half the rooms.
Olyan, mint egy kardvirág, de mégse kardvirág, de az kardvirág.
Inside the mailbox were bills from 7 years ago, marked urgent, open immediately.
Megkaptuk a tértivevényest, nézzük. De nem mutat semmit. Nem tudok futni? Csak zoomolni?
In her will, my mother left me a key, but didn't tell me what it unlocked. Maybe she thought I'd know. Or she thought that the mystery would be enough to bring me back.
Finchek. Erre lefele? Vagy arra felfele? Merre menjünk? Próbáljuk meg lefele? Hát, ha van itt valami, amit... Van itt valahol egy béka. Száraz tónak nedves partján döglött béka kuruttyol.
The truth is, even after I inherited the house, I never thought I'd come back to it. But now I had questions about my family that only the house knew the answers to.
Pillanat. Egy pillanat. Oké. Így a fasza.
The woods around the house have always been uncomfortably silent. As if they're about to say something, but never do.
Talicska! Né, nem tudok futni, csak zoomolni. Vagy ez nem olyan game. Ez olyan, mint az előző volt.
The house was exactly like I remembered it. The way I'd been dreaming about it.
De milyen jól néz ki a ketszó.
As a child, the house made me uncomfortable in a way I couldn't put into words.
Hogy köré van
As
építve.
a 17-year-old, I knew
A fa köré.
those words
Ó,
were.
simán laknék a
I was
tetejébe.
afraid of the house.
Azt mondja nekünk a narráló, hogy ő félt mindig ebbe a házba. Nehogy már itt másszom be.
Crawling through the doggy door used to be a lot easier when I was 11.
11 évesen egyszerűbb volt bemászni a kutya ajtón. Aztán nézzétek a Volvót! Jaj, de jól néz ki az a Volvo. Hogy honnan tudom, hogy Volvo? Tippelek. Ez egy családfa. Csak megnyomtam egy másik gombot. Ja, hogy így kikerültem az optionsbe. 3 szöget megnyomtam, azt kikerültem optionsbe. Aha. Pancsoló. Horgászbot. Minden van itt. 2010. Úristen, de...
I felt like I was home.
Hú, de fasza.
But instead of a family, there were just memories of one. Like how after Louis started working at the cannery, we all got sick of eating salmon. Except our cat, Molly.
Ezek ilyen halkonzervek. Mi a tonhal konzerv? Tonhalnak néz ki. Tehát azt mondta az előbb, hogy amikor elkezdett valaki dolgozni a gyárba, ugye a konzervgyárba, akkor így megutálták ezt a kaját.
Or how only one restaurant would deliver to our house, so we had Chinese a lot.
De rendeltek helyette kínait. Hogy befúj az elszívó? Fú, itt is mindenhol tonhalkonzerv, úristen. Aranydobozos sertés májkrém lenne. Az a legfinomabb.
It was like a bomb had gone off, killing everyone but sparing the furniture.
Csak legyen hozzá elég kenyér.
My mom was the only one of us who could imagine Great-Grandma Edie living in a nursing home.
A nagymamát bebaszták a idősek otthonába.
Nothing in the house looked abnormal. There was just too much
Plazma
of it,
tévé.
like a smile,
Rengeteg
too many
könyv.
teeth.
Áj, de jó a kilátás a nappaliba.
Even the fireplace had a story. Edie told me the bricks came from the original house, after it sank.
Tehát ez egy régi házból csináltak új házat, mert elmosta a víz a régi házat, és amikor ugye kiszáradt a dolog, megtartották a régi háznak az elemeit. Mi van itt?
Great-Grandpa Sven built a music box for Barbara, along with the rest of the house.
Nagyapja kedvence volt ez a zenélő doboz. Egy lezárt kukucska.
Edie told me once that every Finch who ever lived is buried somewhere in the library.
Minden Finch, aki a házba lakott, el van temetve a könyvtárba. Hát ez a könyvtár? Bakker, mindenhol könyvek vannak, nézd már meg. Még a lépcsőn is, csak könyveket látsz.
After Milton disappeared, Mom sealed up all the bedrooms. Then Edie retaliated and drilled peepholes.
Mindenhova kukucskálót tettek föl. George.
As a kid, I just assumed every house had peepholes and sealed rooms you weren't allowed inside of.
De ennek mi értelme volt? Hogy ilyen kukucskálókat tegyenek föl
My
inkább
grandpa
a...
Sam spent 7 years sharing a room with his dead brother, Calvin.
De az azért megvan, 11 évig élt. 950-től 961-ig. 76-tól 77-ig. Vagy csak addig lakott benne? Sven Hofstad Finch és Eddie.
The last time I was in Edith Sr.'s room, I was 10 and she was painting my portrait. Whenever people ask me about my family, the first thing they always want to know about is Barbara.
És még van fentebb is. Barbara?
Edie's father, Odin, built the original house. Barbara was a child star for 2 years, until America grew out of it.
De le van fújva purhabbal, hogy ez le van zárva.
Mom must have locked the third floor stairs on the night we left.
De megy fel oda áram. Be van dugva. Ott a bor, ha, csapra! Adjatok egy poharat. Fú, mi van itt bent? Molly?
Molly always seemed like a girl I could imagine being friends with, if she hadn't died in 1947.
Vannak ám
I
érzelmes
spent a lot of time playing in Great Uncle Walter's room.
Egyedül ez a szoba nincsen
I think
lezárva.
my mom sometimes regretted not sealing it up. Louis told me there were secret passages, but I never believed him.
Itt a kulcs.
Turns out, my mom was really good at keeping secrets. Now it was time to find out what my mom had been afraid of.
Most rá kell jönni, hogy az anyja mitől félt ebbe a házba, hogy miért kellett lezárni minden egyes ajtót.
From the paintings on the wall, it was clear my brother Milton had been here before me.
Konkrétan ezek a
Reading this, maybe it sounds like I had a plan.
szobákat összekötik ilyen kis shortcut szobácskák.
But I had no idea what was behind that door. Just like I had no idea where all this was gonna lead.
Mint egy síp. Az.
I grew up looking at Molly's room through the peephole.
Itt vagy hörcsög lakott, vagy degú, vagy tengeri malac. Tudom. Észreveszem. A kaksiból.
Molly's gerbil had a tiny bedroom with its own even tinier gerbil cage.
Gerbil. Hörcsög. Hörcsög. Mert a tengeri malac az guinea pig. Tehát hörcsöge volt. Aha, ez az ajtó, ami másik oldalról ugye le van zárva. De itt is van ajtó. Valamit nem veszünk észre, amit meg kéne vizsgálni.
I felt like I'd stepped behind a painting. I got the sense Edie had spent a lot of time here.
December 13th, 1947. Dear Diary, I'll be gone soon, but I wanted to tell somebody about what's gonna happen. It started when Mom sent me to bed without dinner. I woke up and I was starving, so I looked around for something to eat.
Ne örüljél már meg! Mollyt zavarta az anyja evés nélkül este, de fölkelt éjszaka, mert éhes volt, és körbenézett, hát ha talál valamit, amit ehet.
My Halloween candy was all gone.
A halloweeni cukrai, azok mind meglettek éve.
The gerbil food was dry, but I didn't mind it.
De hát ott a kaksia! És hol van a tengeri malac? Vagy mi az? A hörcsögöd. A hörcsög kajáját megette. Ne. Megeszi? Megeszi a halat?
I thought about eating Christopher, but I held back.
Ja, elgondolkodott azon, hogy megeszi a halát, a kis halacskát, de inkább visszafogta magát.
I kept eating and eating.
Megette a fogkrémet.
I ate a lot of things that night.
Ez mi ez, bazd meg? Csipke bogyó. Attól menni fog a hasad!
Then I heard chirping outside my window.
Aztán
It was a barn swallow going back to her nest. I reached out for her.
ne. Kimászol?
I was a cat.
Átalakultunk cicává! Van egy ilyen anime amúgy, Muge a neve, és az valami kegyetlen jó amúgy, mert szerelmi történet egy kicsit. Ott is a kis csaj macskává tud változni, és hát így szabadabb. És akkor macskaként elkapjuk elkapjuk a madarat macskaként.
The bird was really scared.
Próbált halk maradni, de a madár nagyon félt.
Mom and Dad didn't even look at me.
Anya és apa még csak rá se nézett. Hát jó, hogy hát macska vagy. Azta. De hogy dorombol?
I jumped and I almost got her.
Ugrottam, majdnem elkaptam. Azt mondta.
I could tell she was getting really tired. Now I was up in the big tree. I promised Dad I wouldn't climb it anymore. All I cared about was eating that mama bird.
Tehát csak azzal törődött, hogy megegye a...
Gobbled her up. And suddenly, I was an owl. First,
És most meg
all I
bagoly.
heard was the wind. Then I heard little teeth nibbling in the grass.
És valami rákcsálást hallott a fűben.
Rabbits.
Nyulak. Elkapott egy nyulat.
I imagined his face looking up and seeing mine through my talons. I swallowed him up, and I didn't chew one bit. Then I flew off to find something bigger.
Megette egészbe! Tudjátok, ha sógorunk vágott egy disznót, egybe lenyelt egy csirkét. Egybe egy csirkét! Úristen, most mi vágunk disznót. És beküldtük egy gyereket. Egybe egy csirkét, aztán a gyerek megy be. Na, másik Jussi. Ezt is elkaptuk.
She was almost too big to carry. I started choking, but I couldn't stop eating.
Hallom, hogy törik a csontja. És most meg átváltozott cápává. De hát a száraz földön nem megy a cápa! Meg fog halni! Ó! Hopp! Vergődnie kell! Ó! Most még éhesebb lett, mint az előtt. Aj, de komoly! Csak inverz az irányítás kicsit. Akarta azt a... Elkapom! Hol van? Ham! Gyere, buci, ham, bekaplak! Megharapta az uszonyát, és ízlet neki. Hol van? Hova tűnt? Ott van.
Everything had changed.
Nem mondod. Egy hosszú polikarja lett. Most egy szörny lettem. És embereket éreztem. Ez ilyen... nagyon kemény.
I was big, but I moved real quiet.
Elmész a faszomba! Megzabáltam a... Pecás Lacit. Baj van a részek tengerésszel, baj van a részek tengerésszel. És azt énekli. Aha, tehát arra kéne mennem kifele.
Passenger, I was still hungry, and across the water I smelled something new, something I had to have, so I swam towards it.
Tehát még mindig éhes volt.
I slithered onto the sand, and the good smell went into an old pipe.
Az de kemény! Kijöttem a WC-bű!
I got closer and closer.
Babakocsi.
my stomach started growling. And suddenly, I was me again. I held my breath for a long time, but I couldn't hear anything. I think it's waiting for me to fall asleep. But it's not going to wait much longer. It needs to be, and we both know I will be delicious.
Meg akarja enni önmagát? Úristen! Ez nagyon beteg!
I'm not sure if I believed all of that, but I'm sure Edie would have.
Mi a franc? Macskát hallottam?
This will be obvious later, but my mom never told me any of these stories. Edie would have, but Mom didn't like bringing up the past. Though, when we adopted a stray kitten, she was the one who named it Molly. I spent a lot of time in Great-Grandma Edie's room. Her room was like a museum.
Huh.
For 500 years, the Finches have been famous throughout Norway for their fortune. And misfortune.
Várjál, azt nem tudom lapozni? Nem. Meghajtom, mint zinger a varrógépet. Nézd. Ugye ennek a nagymamának, vagy ükmamának, vagy üknégy nagynénének, vagy valaki... Ott, itt egy oxigénpalack. Ennek is vannak ilyen beteg sztoriai. De még mindig ezt mutatja.
Odin Finch buries the
megvan.
latest victims of the family curse. His wife Ingeborg and their newborn son.
Családi átokba vagyunk, te! Ez így szép.
On January 7th, 1937, he set sail with his family and his house, hoping to leave the curse behind. But 40-foot waves off the coast of Washington send the house and Odin to the bottom of the sea. Odin's daughter Edie, with husband Sven and baby Molly, step ashore.
Tehát a házat már elmosta az óceán egyszer. Jó tudni.
Odin Finch is the first to be buried in the new family cemetery.
Odin Finch volt az első, aki a családi kriptába lett, tehát miután ugye elmosta a vihar meg az ár, ő lett elsőként eltemetve a családi kriptába. Szia, Peti! Te nem mondtad, hogy ez ilyen beteg? Te szemét.
His daughter Edie is already dreaming of a new Finch house. Whatever's wrong with this family, it goes back a long ways.
Hogy mondjam, még csak most kezdtem bele, de már felzabáltam 2 hajóst. Ugye? Aha, ez a madaras. Akkor Zoli állítsa be a Mickeyét konkrétan, most már hallani fogom, mert ugye felvettem barátnak a
Even in her
Fortnite-ba.
90s, sometimes Edie seemed a lot younger than my mother.
Ha valaki erre az adásra nem kíváncsi, menjen át Trapvine Péter unokaöcsémhez, ott majd Spider-Man-t játszik, Miles Morales-t. kerti szék a... Aha. Hemüge. Ez a béka kurutyolhatott nekem ott
The
kint
only
az
trace Grandpa
erdőbe.
Sam's first wife Kay left on the house was the pink bathroom. It was a pretty big trace.
Oké, egy hülye kérdés. Ha van valaki, akinek ilyen a fürdőszobája, nem a rózsaszín, hanem konkrétan a szőrös WC fedlap, meg az ugyanolyan színű, ugyanolyan szőrös szőnyeg. Ti engedtek férfiakat ott pisilni? Mert aki állva pisil, ott rohadni kezd a szőnyeg körülött, azt tuti. Brutál a sztori. Na, akkor megyünk tovább. Ez is be van purhabbal zárva, geci. Itt más nincs.
When Edith told people Sven was killed by a dragon, she could also have said he was building a dragon-shaped slide that collapsed. She could have, but she didn't. Edith gave a big interview about a mole man living under the Finch house. My mom was furious.
Egy vakond ember él a ház alatt. Fú, ezek a... Mi csörög? Valami így csörög. Vagy ez kint van?
Louis died a week before we left, but Edie had already started to memorialize him. Great-Grandma had always been the family's biggest fan. Edie knit me a new pair of gloves every year, just in time to replace the old ones.
Úristen, mennyi emléket tár ez a ház. Ott egy fürdetett baba. Még egy kulcs. A titkos fürdőszoba.
There's a secret in this bathroom. It's in the last place you would look. It isn't in the cupboard. It's hidden in this book.
De komolyan, hogy el vannak rejtve a dolgok, te! Hoppá! Kodak filmtekercs! Elő kell hivatni. Hát, ha vannak rajta klúk.
He never put it down.
De úgy látom, hogy itt van minden felszerelés. Ez konkrétan egy vörös lámpa. Az egy vörös lámpa, igen. Ez egy filmelőhívó stúdió. Ugye a vörös szín nem roncsolja a képminőséget. Mert ha fényt kap a film, akkor feketedik. De komoly. Nem lett volna itt a... Fú, te! De milyen hangulatosak ezek a szobák, beszarsz. Igazi kis birodalmak, eskü. Nagyon jól néznek
I
ki.
knew Grandpa Sam had a twin. And that he never talked about him. I guess my grandpa didn't like history any more than my mom did.
How I Want to Remember My Brother by Sam Finch. The thing I remember is that when he made up his mind, that was it.
Ja, most Sam Finch. Eltört a lába. Ott be van gipszelve. Mind a kettőbe. Gyerünk! Minél magasabbra.
At Barbara's funeral, we
Úgy.
swore we'd never be afraid again.
Hinta palita.
And he wasn't.
Hátra.
I think Calvin
Előre.
always wanted to fly.
Hátra. Előre. Átváltozunk sassá. Hoppá. Majdnem.
But that day, he finally made up his mind to do it. I told him going around was impossible. Maybe if I hadn't said that.
Ne.
I'm not gonna tell you again.
Maybe if the wind hadn't picked up.
Nem tudok leugrani?
Maybe he'd still be here. But I doubt it.
Próbáljunk lassulni. Már kezdek beleszédülni. Állj már meg! Állj már meg! Hát ha azt kell csinálni. Hú! Most szemet csináljuk. Aha, szóval ha előre toljuk, akkor is. Lehet, hogy tényleg azt kell, meg kell hajtani, mint a zinger a varrógépet? Próbáljuk meg. Igen. Nyomjad! Gyerünk, tesó! Hát, ha elszállunk a francba.
I think he'd already made up his mind. That's what I want to remember about my brother.
Háj, de komolyan! Úgy nyomjuk, mint az állat! Beakadtunk a fába, és... átpördültünk! Az de komoly!
Calvin's story felt strangely familiar. When I was
Calvinél. Sam meg a tesója volt. Tehát a családfának az emlékeiket kell feltérképezzük.
Edie roped off Calvin's half of the room.
Főiskolai bizonyítvány. Diploma. Samuel Finch.
Mom said Grandpa Sam enlisted at 18 and never set foot in the room again.
Mi a franc? Elmész a francba, de kurva jól néz ki, hogy így vannak a... Hű. Azt így tudok átmenni az egyik szobából a másikba.
The passages were a pretty tight fit. They'd obviously been built for smaller hands.
Most mindjárt az emeleten vagyunk. Hoppá, 2 üveg bor. Itt a boros. Itt a boros ajtó. Tehát itt ki tudnénk menni, de akkor nem tudnánk, hogy mi van itt bent.
Growing up, I always thought of Barbara as a child star.
Barbara. Gitár. Hoppá, gitár. Add a gitárt.
I never thought about how hard it must have been for her afterwards.
Azt a de.
Of all the stories people wrote about Barbara's death, I'm surprised Edie saved this one.
Old Jack here with another ghastly tale inspired by America's most unfortunate family. I'm calling it The Surprise Ending of Barbara Finch.
Ha beszarsz.
Child star, Barbara was famous for her scream. Now at 16, she was all washed up. A has-been. But in a lucky break, she'd been asked to perform her signature scream at a local convention for monster movie fans.
Tehát Barbara sikolyáról volt híres még gyerekként.
Unfortunately, her scream hadn't aged well.
Getting better. I think you just need the right motivation.
Her biggest fan and current boyfriend, Rick, was about to demonstrate when...
Now that was a great scream.
It was Barbara's father, Sven. He'd slipped into a table saw and had to be rushed to the emergency room. So Barbara got stuck babysitting her youngest brother, Walter. Her convention comeback was cancelled.
Bazd meg!
Okay, I'm hearing frustration.
Barbara apukájának a kezét elkapta a körfűrész, és ő kiáltott jobbat, mint Barbara.
That came from the basement.
You're right. Also, I loved your delivery on that. Why is your basement door locked?
Because my dad likes
Valami
to
volt a
puzzles and
pincébe.
secret passages. There's a key hidden in the music box. The secret is to keep winding and winding until finally the key pops out.
Thanks, babe. I'll be back in a sec.
De rájöttünk, hogy van a pincéhez kulcsunk. Ó, akkor ezután kimegyünk a pincét feltérképezni.
Right on cue. She reached for the music box. And as she wound the key,
És én csinálom.
the house was silent.
De ezt is én irányítom?
She found Rick's crutch and imagined the worst.
The gang's leader is the infamous Hookman killer, Dr. Carl Hamill, who impaled and then ate his family 10 years ago tonight.
Itt kapta el a kezét a körfűrész. Gyere ide! Oda baszok! Menj a francba!
Rick?
Barb, relax. I was just trying to scare you to help you find your scream.
Well, I'm not scared, Rick. I'm furious.
Then
Yeah.
act furious. All I'm getting from you now is that you're hurt and confused and
Rábaszta az ajtót. Kellett neki ott ijesztegetnie az embert.
Barb, have you seen my other crutch?
And she was still holding it when she fell asleep watching the late picture show. Hours later...
Barbara! Walter, what's going on up there? Ah! Okay, I'm coming up, but if this is...
Lehet, hogy a tesó átalakult, szörnyé fel akarta falni. A másik meg annyit hintázott, hogy elrepült mindennel. Nem erre kell menni, az a meletre kell menni. Nem? Walter?
Walter, are you there?
Walter had vanished.
Walter eltűnt.
Radio was still on.
És a rádiója be volt kapcsolva még mindig.
With a steel hook for a hand. Residents are urged to lock all doors and windows and notify the police of any suspicious activity.
Barbara turned, saw the hookman, and was speechless. He was quite smashing.
Lemerem fogadni, hogy apuka levágta a kezét a vicserbe, és rakott helyette egy kampót, és akkor tudom, mit tettél tavaly nyáron.
Be another way out of here.
That night, she played her part beautifully.
Most vagyok a másik szobába. Tehát a... Most is recseg? Hát nem tudom, hogy amúgy mitől recseg be a mikrofon néha. Ez Molly szobája. A csávó bezuhant. Igen, ha magasabb hangot adok ki, akkor berecseg a mikrofon. Menjél már le! Figyeld meg! Oda megyek, és eltűnik. Eltűnt!
All she heard was...
Becsenget. Mindjárt megszólal a telefon, és akkor... Szereted a horrorfilmeket?
From inside the house.
Oh dear.
De most se sikítasz.
The monsters had come to surprise her. For Barbara, it was a dream come true.
Mi van?
And she saw what kind of monsters they were, and she realized what was about to happen. She was going to be famous. And with her final breath, Barbara Finch gave the performance of her life. I wasn't there myself, but I hear Barbara was magnificent. Poor girl. She had a taste for stardom. But unfortunately, so did her fans. Of course, the police blamed it all on poor Rick, who disappeared the same night. And little Walter? Hiding under his bed the whole time. He took it all pretty hard. But that's another story.
Ez de kemény.
Tucked inside the music box is all they ever found of her. Her ear.
Oh.
Now that's what I call a real eerie tale.
Ezt a szóviccet, bazd meg.
Edie told me all Barbara wanted was to be remembered, as absurd as that comic was. Maybe what Edie saw was a happy ending.
Barbara Street. Az de komoly. Akkor ki kell másszak.
I guess now I know why Mom didn't like me playing with the music box.
Tehát ezért nem szerette az anyja, hogy a zenedobozzal játszik. Tehát itt történt az egész. Hóbele banc. Ugye itt volt a WC.
It's funny.
Azért
All
van
those times I played
megcsinálva.
with the music box and never found the basement key.
Azt mondja, vicces. Akárhányszor... De akkor visszafele kell? Hát, pörgetem, de... Sokkal tovább kellett pörgetni. És itt van a pince, bazd meg. Ó! De komoly. Itt töltöttem volna az egész napomat, biliárdoztam volna, vaze. Itt van a körfűrész.
Mom said the basement was off limits, unless I wanted another tetanus shot.
Még fasárkányt is csináltak. OSB lap. Egy
I
kis
saw Edie
gyártós
sneak
van.
down to the basement once, carrying packages.
Nincs itt valami villanykapcsoló, vagy valami, valahol? Mert olyan sötét van, én nem látok.
I thought maybe she was hiding presents.
Mi volt a hűtőbe?
It turned out she was hiding a lot more than that.
Az de komoly! Na ne! És megy az aggregátor. Hogy tűnt el Walter?
She said after Barbara died, he got as far away as he could.
Az mind kaja? Ez egy ilyen világvége bunker. Altblue? Hát már az nem víz. Nézd meg. Várjál. Megfordulok. Az ott az nem víz. Az sötétkék. Az... WC itt is. Meg rádió. Itt van Walter története.
Goodbye, everyone. I can't believe I've been down here for 30 years.
30 évig volt ott lent, bazd meg!
On that first day, after the shaking started, I didn't think I'd survive a week. But after a few days, I settled into a routine. That's what kept me sane. Having a schedule, living for today.
Bakac befőtt.
I always expected to be dead tomorrow. But if you wait long enough, you get used to anything.
Tehát rutinná kezdett válni a rengések, és ezt ő kezdte megszokni.
Almost friendly. And then one day, everything just stopped. Whatever that thing was, it was gone.
De hogy elváltozott a bőre, ilyen foltos lett.
Maybe I just got tired of being afraid. It's been a week now, the longest in 30 years. I'm done waiting. I have to leave. Well, I still can.
Tehát el kell menjen. Bocsi, ásítottam. De attól függetlenül bazd meg!
I know it's out there, somewhere. Whatever killed Barbara. And Molly.
Valami megölte Barbarát is, Mollit és Kelvint.
Maybe this is all a mistake.
Megfogta a samut, kibaszta a téglafalat.
Even if it kills me.
Ne! Mi van itt? Vasút vagy vasút?
I want you to know, I'm ready for it. I'm going to appreciate all of it, especially the food. I don't mind if I only have a year left. Or a month. Or a single week. I'd be happy with one new day. I can already imagine the sun on my face.
Bazd meg. A rengések a vonat volt.
Walter died when I was 6. I can't believe my mom never told me he was down here. I'm sure my mom was trying to protect me.
És ott a jel. Ott a vonat. És ez csak egy kamukép itt fönt. A föld alatt. A pincébe. Hát akkor menjünk tovább. Lehet, hogy mindegyik csak bipoláris elmezavarba szenvedett, és... Ha, magyarókrém. Nem. Tomátoszúp, paradicsomleves.
I can only imagine what else she was hiding. I don't want to make the same mistakes she made.
Ide dobta a szemetet.
Trying to bury something that's still alive. Now that there's only one of us left, or maybe two.
Jó, megpróbálok nem a sín kellős közepén menni.
The stories for myself. And found out what happened to everyone else. But now I'm worried the stories themselves might be the problem. Maybe we believed so much in a family curse, we made it real.
És ott van a Walternak az emléke. 2005. Tehát a vonat már nem jár, hát akkor itt úgy, ahogy van, kimenne az óceánba. Jó van, már azt hittem, hogy megint jön.
I don't know if I should even be writing this. Maybe it'd be better if all this just died with me. But I thought you should know about your family.
Hú.
And the history you're a part of.
Ott a város, meg ott is. És ez meg egy külön sziget. De kemény, ahogy kinéz. Már este van.
Though to be honest, I feel as lost as you probably do right now.
Hát igen, én is elveszve érzem magam hirtelen.
For what that's worth.
A lámpákat kell követni. Erre van valami? Mondani valód? Semmi. Ja nem, a lámpák követnek engem. Jó.
And when you look at the house, that history of imagination and stubbornness and madness.
Őrület, bánat, sok van itt. Akkor erre kell menjek?
I think we've been surrounded by death for so long, we've just gotten used to it. What kind of family finishes building a cemetery before starting the house?
Hú. Azért ez egy mély gondolat volt. Miért kezd el építeni egy család először temetőt és kriptát, mielőtt még a ház készen lenne.
The pet cemetery made me more uncomfortable than the human one.
A kisállattemető. A hal, Christopher, Shadow a macska, Oliver nyúl, Bob kutya,
3 of the gerbils were mine, and 2 had been my fault.
Coco, Zoe, Zarpi, Bailey.
Sven built the house, but it was Edie who designed the cemetery.
Molly Finch, Calvin Finch, Sven, Edie, Walter, Barbara, a csillag.
I'm sure Odin's monument had been Edie's idea. My mom was always trying to move on, but for Edie, the past never went away. She could see it poking out of the water at low tide. Edie said she dreamed about the old house every night.
Az a régi ház. Elsodorta a tenger. Az ár. A szökőár. Most át kell mennünk oda? Ha.
Edie's side was always easier for me to understand.
Arra kell menni. Nem erre. Erről jöttünk.
But the older I get, the more I can see where my mom was coming from. Her dad had been pretty strict, but it wasn't enough to save her brothers. She was just trying to do better. She lost 2 of her brothers, just like I did. I get why she tried so hard to protect us.
Milton Finch, Louise Finch, Sanjay Kumar, az egyedüli, akinek nincs Finch neve.
There's so many things I wish I could ask my mom now. Part of me thinks this is what she wanted all along. For me to come back someday and find everything out for myself. But looking back on it now, if she told me there was going to be so much climbing, I never would have come when I was 22 weeks pregnant.
Huszonkét hetes terhes. És úgy jött vissza a házba. Üvegre nem lépünk rá.
I never met Grandpa Sam, but I think he and my mom had a lot in common. They were both pretty intense.
Oh. Ó, mik ezek?
Dawn, I promise, you'll never forget this weekend.
Yes, sir.
These memories are gonna last a lifetime.
Am I gonna have to shoot anything?
It's a hunting trip, Dawn. Shooting is strongly encouraged.
What?
Perfect.
It's gonna rain the whole weekend, isn't it?
Aha, rá kell zoomolnom.
Please just take the damn picture.
Hey, language.
I will never forget this weekend, Dad.
That's the spirit. Okay, got it.
I'm gonna take some pictures, okay?
Just be careful. The camera's older than you are.
You're right, Dad. It's starting to clear up. Still freezing, though.
De mit kell lefotózzak? Akkor visz tovább. De valamit itt kell fotózzak, szerintem. A madarat? Na hova? Mit kell lássak, amit nem látok? Nem, valami itt van, amit nem veszek észre. De milyen már a régi kamera? Tök komoly. Vagy valahol a Finch ház megmutatkozik, és akkor azért? Tudja, hogy valami titok van. Segítsetek már egy kicsit itt, mit kell fotóznom? Mit fotózzak le? P-terrorista! Mit kell itt lefotóznom, hogy tovább triggereljen a játék? Fogalmam se nincsen. Igen, mert volt itt egy madár, azt lefotóztam.
Definitely should not have drunk all that coffee.
Hold still while I take a picture.
Hey!
That's a keeper.
Aha.
I'm just saying, I'm not always gonna be here, Don. You'll need to remember this stuff, if you want to survive.
I'll be fine, Dad.
You know who else thought he was gonna be fine?
Some guy who died.
Don, I'm being serious.
I know, Dad. You're always serious. Doesn't being out here make you want to chill out?
Well, to tell you the truth, I haven't been out here in 20 years.
Mit kell
Last
keressek?
time I was with my brother Calvin. Man, that was a great trip. Your grandpa Sven taught us how to fish, how to build a fire. We found an old logging trail. There were deer everywhere.
Dad!
Good eyes, Don.
Aha, a
Take the
szarvas.
shot. Let me get a picture of you.
Dad, I...
Just breathe. Let me get behind you.
Do I have to do this?
Don, you don't have to do anything. But if you want to survive, you'll need to be strong.
Szia, Dus! Nézd felém.
Keep yourself squared up. Elbows. Great shot, Don!
Fú, baszki! Pont elkapta azt.
I'm proud of you, Don. Always remember that, okay?
Dad, it's twitching. I think
That's
it's
totally
so...
normal, Don. Just focus on the camera. Try not to think about...
Dad!
Nem érzed a Twitch? Nem állítottad be a kicsi harangot? Nem baj, már egy ideje játszom, egy másfél órája. Nem maradtál le semmiről, kb. A felénél járhatok. Akkor nem tudom. Ez azért kemény volt.
Sam spent his life shooting photos, but Mom said he got nervous being in front of the camera. I guess we're all afraid of something.
A YouTube-on vissza lehet majd nézni, igen.
My mom and Edie got really close.
Majd rakok.
They'd both lost a lot.
Beteg sztorik vannak ebbe a játékba is amúgy. Mert nem az, hogy beteg, tehát mindenkivel előfordulhatnak ilyen sztorik, de baszki. Azért van ami azért fura. Georgie 1 éves. 1 évet élt.
Dear Kay, do you remember the way Gregory used to laugh when he thought he was alone? Like something funny was happening, but only he could see it.
Time to... Hold on, sweetie. Hello? Sam, I told you I don't want to talk right now. Sorry about that, Gregory.
Ma azt hittem.
Everything you could. Maybe if I hadn't called that night.
Damn it. Hold on, I don't want Gregory to hear this.
sure he's happy. And he'd want you to be happy too. Good luck, Kay. Love, Sam.
Az meg! Ez kemény volt. Ez bazd meg. Gyereketek lesz, mindig legyetek ott a fürdetésnél, amíg nem tud önállóan fürödni. Mindig. Sőt, még akkor is gyakran nézzetek rá a gyerekre, amíg nem felelősség teljes. Míg nem érzitek annak. Én is hányszor belevertem a fejemet a csapba, bazd meg. Csak azért, mert játszottam a kádba. Úristen, bazd meg. Kis regényt tudnék írni róla. Hú, de komoly ez a hely. Kicsit a katonás. Devin, Gus.
A poem for Gus, who always said the wedding was a bad idea. Our father never hit us kids, at least not very hard, before the day my brother said with teenage disregard that he'd be dead before he'd see a wedding in our yard.
Hát és szedem össze a betűket, de jó. De komoly sárkányt reptetünk. Tudom kint ebereszteni?
My father made him come, of course, but Gus stood far apart, just flew his kite and bottled up the storm inside his heart.
Aha. Ja, mivel fordítva vannak, fel kell fordítanom az összeset.
But though he'd never met her, we don't need a stepmom were the words that I
now pronounce you husband and wife. You may just cry.
Tehát valaki esküvőjén ő sárkányt teregetett.
When the time for photos came, Dad ordered him to come here. But Gus declined, and as a sign held up his middle finger.
Gus egy kicsit. Na, megoldjuk.
And panicked geese appeared and quickly went. But all the humans did that day was go inside the tent.
És a streambe költötte. Ó, jön a vihar, jön az eső. Ennek lesz itt problémája.
The rain came down in buckets then, but no one seemed afraid that nature might destroy the tent our dad had crudely made.
Tehát egy olyan vihar jött.
But all my father said to this was, make the music louder.
Hát de minden fel lett kapva. Itt repkednek a virágok, a székek, egy asztal. A sárkányunk után. Hát beszarsz.
wish that I could truly say I thought about you on that day. Out there on the beach alone, just you, the wind, the sea, and foam. But I didn't. Until we found you.
Az komolyan megváltozott. Az komolyan megváltozott.
She never talked about him, but Mom told me once if I was a boy, they were going to name me Gus.
Ez ilyen lecsúszó pozna? Az. Csak túl közel van ott a... Ja, annyira nem közel, jó van. Oda kéne valahogy feljutni. Szerintem onnan lehet majd ide lecsúszni. Duties, routine. Valaki itt nagyon katonás volt.
My mom moved up to the loft after her brothers died. At the time, it was as far away as she could get.
Huh.
She spent a summer building houses in Calcutta, where she met my dad, Sanjay.
India! I'm under the water.
Religion
Please
was
help
another
me.
thing my mom never talked about, but I think it helped her a lot after her dad died.
Huh.
My mom moved to India a week after graduation and got a job teaching English. Louis was born a year later.
Nem tudok arra kimászni? De.
When my dad died, I don't think Mom knew where else to go. I'm sure Edie was happy to have her back.
Don, Louise, Milton, Edith.
The house had to get a little bigger, but Edie was used to that. And for a while, things were good.
Kis osztályterem, de jó.
But it didn't last. The beginning of the end was Milton's 10th birthday, when Edie gave him a castle.
Aha. Ide is be lehet
After Milton
kukucskálni.
disappeared, the only thing he left behind was a room full of paintings.
Ő eltűnt, mert Miltonnak nincsen halálnapja, mármint a haláléve. Nézzük, mi van itt. Egy csillagvizsgáló. Aj, de jól néz ki.
Milton Finch in The Magic Paintbrush.
Mi van? Volt lent egy festett ajtó, igen.
Mom disappeared. Mom spent months searching for my brother. Then she sealed the doors.
De nem lehet interaktálni vele. Csak megfestette az ajtót, és kiment rajta.
Mom didn't want it getting out.
Hoppá, két köcsög elállja az utamat. Ti köcsögök. Akkor menjek fentebb?
Mom definitely blamed Edie, but I think Louis blamed himself. After he graduated, he just spent more and more time in his room. Until Mom got him a job at the cannery.
Louise.
Everyone always told me to stay out of Louis's room. Except Louis.
Hogy jutok be Louis szobájába? Erre? Louis tudott élni.
Very, very familiar. That part of him lived on.
A legjobb itt a kurva nagy vízipipa a szoba közepén, meg a sörnyitó. Lemerném fogadni, hogy Goát hallgatott végig, bazd meg. Huh?
Dear Mrs. Finch, as Louis's psychiatrist, I can understand your desire for an explanation. As I see it, the trouble began in January, shortly after we convinced your son to seek treatment for substance abuse. Newly sober, I believe Louis first noticed the monotony of his daily life. He kept working at the cannery, but he withdrew part of himself. In our sessions, I saw the same behavior. His mind began to wander.
Ah!
I asked him to describe it. He said he started small, imagining a labyrinth. He'd feel his way about. Then something moved. Bats. And toads. And things.
A labirintust az egyik karral irányítom.
He knew it was all in his head.
Ó, de muszáj a halakat is elkezdenem.
But he took it very seriously. I had hoped he'd find himself. But he found something more. I worried about him then. Daydreaming at the cannery. I spoke with his boss. But he said Louis had become a model employee. Methodical, tireless, focused. Like a whole new Lewis. So I let him go on. I even encouraged him. It seemed very promising at first.
Tehát meló közben elkalandozott, beképzelt magának egy teljesen más világot. Gondolom, hogy valami itt történt vele. Louis-tópia.
He built the city up slowly, brick by brick. Then he made musicians. And songs for them to play. He talked about starting a band.
Közben meg elfelejtem vágni a tonhalak fejét.
Every day his imagination grew stronger. He no longer spoke at the cannery. But his chopping was as reliable as ever. Then one day it struck him. All the cheering crowds, even the stones under his feet, were all in his imagination. So he could do whatever he wished. He held an election for mayor. And he won. They begged him to stay, but his mind was already wandering. It became a game for him.
Tehát ő a saját képzeletében csinált egy saját kis játékot, egy saját birodalmat.
New Louisville. St. Louis.
St. Louis.
He started drifting away from our reality. Minneapolis, until one day he forgot to go home from the cannery. Even as his mother pleaded with him, part of Louis kept sailing on.
Beleőrült a monoton életbe, hogy csak halak fejét vagdossa.
In Louisburg, he heard rumors of a handsome queen.
Huh.
The queen was on her own quest for sinister serpents. He followed the sound of her
Várjál.
silver harp. His chase led him to a golden palace east of the sun and west of the moon. Even then, his logic remained sound. He knew the world was all in his imagination.
Most egybe lejött 4-5 hal.
But he was so proud of having created it. In his own eyes, he'd become something greater than a king. For someone who'd never known success in the real world, I think it was overwhelming.
Prince of Persia!
And then it struck him that the real Lewis was not the one chopping salmon, but the one climbing the steps of a golden palace. My imagination is as real as my body, he told me. It was hard to argue with him. We began to forget the world we know. I think it pained him to remember Lewis, the cannery worker. He began to despise the man with a royal contempt. I still thought I could save him. Even after he said he was being crowned king over all the lands of wonder. The palace would be packed with his companions. Calico had insisted on advising him.
Molly, a macska. Azért.
His queen waited, holding his crown. There was only one thing left to do. Bend down his head.
Ez egy guillotine.
And the rest I think you know. Mrs. Finch, your son was a kind man who would be missed by all of us who knew him.
My brother was really cool. I wish you could have met him.
Miért kell minden játéknak annyira a lelkedbe taposnia, bazd meg egy ilyen sztorival, hogy vár?
On the way back from Lewis's funeral, my mom told me to start packing. She waited until the day before we left to tell Edie. I'm not sure if she wanted to make it easier or harder. I wish we'd stayed.
Itt mi történt?
But I understand why we left. My mom ended up leaving everything behind.
Tehát már az anyja is.
Coming for a long time. Maybe it should have come sooner.
Edith.
But it had to end one way or another. All that's left now is to tell you about that last night.
Egy toll. És most írja meg.
That whole last day, Edie just watched us pack and didn't say a word. Until supper, when she raised her glass and said,
"To our final night together, and all our final nights apart."
Grandma, you know what I said about alcohol. Some of your medications are very
Edith,
specific.
I left a present for you in the hallway. Why don't you go open it? The grown-ups have to argue now.
I'm sorry, you're right. We're all leaving tomorrow. Let's just enjoy our last...
I'm not leaving.
Edith, you're excused.
the power had been shut off that morning, but Edie always had plenty of candles.
Bogár.
When my mom sealed the library, I don't think she knew about the other entrance. Or that Edie had a key to it.
Ne! Ott be tudott menni. Akkor már be tudunk menni a...
That thing you're afraid of isn't going to end when you leave the house. Edith has a right to know these stories.
My children are dead because of your stories. I think it's best if Edith and I leave tonight. We'll have the nursing home send a van for you in the morning, okay?
Dear Edith, there's so many stories I wish I could tell you, but there's only time for one. This is about what happened on the night you were born. That night, the tide went way, way out. It was the first and last time I ever saw the old house aground. There'd been an earthquake out in the middle of the ocean. They called it the lowest tide in 1,000 years. God, it smelled awful. You know, I've seen that house every day of my life.
Azért az kemény.
But I never thought I'd go back to it. When the fog rolled in, I lost my way. I got turned around. I started seeing things. Things I'd forgotten had ever existed. But when I saw them, they felt like old friends. That night, a lot of things came back to me. Or maybe I came back to them.
Kertkapu.
Things I can't explain, but that I need you to try and...
Edith, what are you doing in here?
It's mine.
Edith!
Mom, you're gonna rip it! Let go! I kicked and screamed, but Mom dragged me to the car. I never saw Great-Grandma Edie again. The next morning, the band came to pick her up, but she was already gone. After that, we moved around a lot.
Igen, ezt én is csináltam az autóba gyerekként.
We both tried to make the best of it. A few years went by. My mom didn't like to talk about it. But she started getting sick a lot. She got better for a while, and then she didn't. And then I was alone.
Baszki.
The last Finch left alive. Until I found out about you. I'm still not sure what to tell you about all this. If we lived forever, maybe we'd have time to understand things. But as it is, I think the best we can do is try to open our eyes. And appreciate how strange and brief all of this is.
Konkrétan magával ragad a története. És nem mondod, hogy megszül.
To be for you. But now I hope you'll never see it. I just want to meet you.
Mert ugye mondta 22 hetes terhes.
But I guess if you're reading this now, things didn't work out that way. This is where your story begins. I'm sorry I won't be there to see it. It's a lot to ask, but I don't want you to be sad that I'm gone. I want you to be amazed that any of us ever had a chance to be here at all. Good luck.
Megszültél, belehalt. És egy gyereke volt ott. Hú, te! Készítők gyerekkori képei. Hú! Elnyert trófea, mindennek vége. Hát igen, ennek is így vége. Hú. Kemény, magával ragadó sztori. Az egész Finch család körüli furcsa dolgok, hogy mindenkit elragadott a halál. Valahol olyan misztikus formába, hogy hú, a történet az lenyűgöző. Még egy elnyert trófea. Hát... Mivel szerintem ez a vége már. Ahogy lepereg, lehet, hogy még lesz valami. Azt megvárom, azért. De itt vagytok még? Társítgatok te. Ez hány óra van? Még csak 5:30. Nem, 6:30. Na. Konnektor. Annapurna. Interaktív. Aha. És akkor így van meg mindenki. Dawnnak nem néztem meg a sztoriát. Arra emlékszem. Replay a story. Dawnét. Ja nem, ez volt az utolsó sztori. Értem. Értem. Jó, oké, akkor nem. És ez a credits. Oké. Akkor köszi, hogy velem tartottatok ma este. Ez volt az Edith Finch. Aha, fényerőn lehetett volna állítani, hogy lássam a pincét normálisan. Hát jó, akkor köszi, hogy velem voltatok. Egy ilyen magával ragadó történetbe. És majd találkozunk most este Trapvine Petivel egy közös streambe. Újra. Sziasztok, szia Edus, szia, sziasztok.